In Avengers Age of Ultron, the titular Ultron was planning on making Sokovia into a giant meteor that would crash into the Earth, exterminating the human population. It was a horrifying event that traumatized the Avengers and led to several of their lowest moments. Turns out this was the nice version of Ultron. In the Age of Ultron comic, his plan wasn't so much to destroy the Earth as it was to brutally conquer it and eliminate every trace of hope on the planet. Also, unlike the movie Ultron, this version accomplished every part of his plan. There's something uniquely terrifying about Ultron that other Avengers baddies can't quite compete with. Today we live in an increasingly automated world. Every day, new innovations in technology bring us closer to true artificial intelligence that rivals or even easily surpasses our own. While we all know that something like Skynet from the Terminator is an example of sci-fi silliness, there's always that nagging sensation in the back of your mind that Siri's up to something. You ever see that Black Mirror episode? Creepy. Those ever-present fears are exactly what made Ultron so terrifying. I mean, in the MCU, he was basically an Alexa who gained sentience, spent 30 seconds on the internet, and decided that mankind has to end. As dramatic as a reaction as that was, it's nothing compared to the real Age of Ultron. In that comic, all of your worst fears about artificial intelligence were brought to life in a terrifying post-apocalyptic nightmare. The story opens up with the battle already over. Ultron has completely and utterly taken over the world. Golden Ultron drones patrol the streets and blow up entire buildings with little effort at all. I mean, things are so bad that Steve Rogers is in a near catatonic state of depression when we finally check in with our superheroes turned freedom fighters. It takes a lot to ruin the optimism of Captain I Can Do This All Day America.
I can do this all day.
The more we find out about this terrifying world, the more we begin to sympathize with Captain America's frame of mind. It turns out that they aren't really battling it out against Ultron for the sake of the planet. An even more powerful Ultron from the future is using Vision as a conduit to control the Earth and punish mankind for his sick pleasure. Ultron could have taken them all out anytime he wanted, but he preferred that they suffer. See what I mean? That whole Sokovia meteor thing isn't looking so bad, is it? In superhero stories, this kind of post-apocalyptic what-if-they-lost universe is actually pretty common. You've got things like Days of Futures Past, Age of Apocalypse, Secret Wars, 2015, and many, many more. Strangely enough, there aren't that many future stories where you find out your hero saved the world and Iron Man gave flying suits of armor to every person on Earth. When you see one of those stories, you tend to settle into a rhythm as they go through the 3 post-apocalypse stages of grief. First, there's the depression or utter disbelief at just how horrible their situation is. Second, there's the moment where they lead some sort of doomed rebellion that often gets thwarted. Finally, our heroes use the ultimate in-case-we-lose tactic that rarely ever fails, time travel. Only Age of Ultron puts a spin on this final step that becomes commentary on this entire subgenre of superhero fiction. When we meet our heroes though, they're definitely in stage 1. Sure, they've grouped into a team already, but when Captain America has given up, you know things look bleak. Still, our story begins with Hawkeye pushing them towards Step 2's squad of grizzled rebels who plan to take the fight to Earth's new conqueror and save the world at any cost. After Hawkeye stages a daring rescue of Spider-Man, they join the team, which consists of Luke Cage, She-Hulk, Wolverine, Iron Man, Emma Frost, Black Widow, Moon Knight, the Invisible Woman, and the broken Captain America. That's not a bad post-apocalyptic team, all things considered. Things got so bad for Batman's post-apocalyptic squad that he had to recruit the Joker, of all people. They figure out a weakness in Ultron's design, and Captain America perks up with a plan. Supervillains across the world have been offering up superheroes like Spider-Man, so they decide to make some offerings of their own, namely Luke Cage and She-Hulk. The plan goes south when the two find out through the imprisoned Vision that Ultron is merely amusing himself with their collective dystopian nightmare. The Ultrons then attack and brutally take out She-Hulk before dropping a nuke. With his final breaths, Cage is able to explain just how harrowing their predicament is. Once they realize that there's simply no way to overthrow Ultron's empire, they go to the standard post-apocalyptic survival strategy: time travel. You know that scene when Rhodey suggests they take out a young Thanos before he has the chance to grow into the intergalactic conqueror who wiped out half of all life? Well, that more or less becomes their plan, but with a twist. You see, in Marvel Comics, Ultron was created by Hank Pym, the first Ant-Man, and not Iron Man. While some suggest that they simply try to talk Hank out of making Ultron, Wolverine has a more permanent solution in mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you finished?
Only Logan would come out to find a man like Hank Pym is more complicated than his worst mistake. He gets quite the crash course in time travel consequences. When our heroes regroup after She-Hulk and Cage's mission, they take a trip to the Savage Lands. It should come to no surprise that Nick Fury has separate post-apocalyptic contingency plans and bunkers located around the world. This was one of those comic reveals where honestly I'd be more surprised if he didn't. He's taken Doctor Doom time-traveling tech and plans on going into the future to fight future Ultron before he has the chance to go into the past and destroy their world. A group of Avengers go ahead with Fury's plan and travel to the future to take the fight to him, but Wolverine hangs back for his own plan. We don't get to see quite how this fight with future Ultron goes, but from context I think we can figure it out. If they had been successful the second they left, the present would have changed. Instead, the present stayed exactly the way it was. This means that a huge squad of Earth's mightiest heroes dropped in on Ultron like a big battle sequence in Endgame. Despite their best efforts, Ultron was able to brutally terminate each and every one of them. It's entirely possible that this action was the final event that caused future Ultron to truly ascend to his ultimate form. Luckily, we don't have to see him eviscerate everyone from Captain America to Tony Stark. Now the story takes a hard right turn to focus on the unlikely pairing of Wolverine and Sue Storm. This might be one of Age of Ultron's best choices, as Wolverine is the ultimate representation of lethal solutions. In stark contrast, Sue Storm is often seen as the moral heart of the Fantastic Four, Marvel's most optimistic super team. Together they provide both sides of the moral argument the series revolves around: time travel assassination. So after the doom-teamed of Avengers go after future Ultron, he and Sue Storm end up going into the past. They find themselves in Hank Pym's lab, the moment he was working on creating Ultron. While Sue isn't a big fan of Wolverine's stabby plan, she eventually concedes and Logan takes Hank out before he has a chance to build Ultron in the first place. They then go back to the present, but turns out things are not any better. Apparently, due to Ant-Man being removed from the timeline, the Avengers broke up and magic took over the world. A cybernetic Tony now fights against the magical Morgan Le Fay. Turns out stabbing Hank was a horrible mistake, and the Logan-Sue time-traveling tag team goes back again to undo another apocalypse. They end up convincing Hank to create a virus in secret that will disable Ultron just as he's about to ascend to the form that destroys the world. They even make him forget the whole thing ever happened. Ultimately, the Marvel Universe is put back to normal, though time itself gets a little damaged by Wolverine's antics. The comic ends with Hank coming to terms with his effect on mankind. While he was the one who created a robot that destroyed the world, when he was removed from time, the world ended up even worse. None of us know what potentially terrifying future awaits us. All we can truly do is be the best versions of ourselves we can be and try to maximize our positive effect on the world. So maybe next time a sentient Alexa gets on the internet, it'll find reasons we're nice enough to not throw a giant meteor at us or conquer humanity just for fun. I think if the comic proves anything, it's that Ultron has a lot more villainous potential than just one movie in the MCU. It's only a matter of time before James Spader's terrifying, charismatic voice is threatening the Avengers once again. Quick, show this robot a cat video!